Get in here and have a seat. You know what time it is. Taylor Swift has a new album. Of course, we are getting into it. I don't make the rules because, baby, that is show business for you. The life of a showgirl is here. Let's go. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. All the homies are here. Reanna Cruz is here. Suzy Exposito is here. Emilie Hanskamp is right here. Hello, all of you.
Hello, Elamin.
All of you look like you're just ready to go. If I may introduce the court, the prosecuting attorneys are Reanna Cruz and Emilie Hanskamp, and I think the lead defense is going to have to be me. Actually, I imagine. But Suzy Exposito is like, maybe there'll be some defending to be done. Okay, let's just cut right into it and let's listen to some of the new album right now.
I cry my eyes violet, Elizabeth Taylor. Tell me for real, do you think it's forever? Been number one, but I never had to. And I can't have fun if I can't have be my and wild when Hollywood hates me. Only as hot as your last hit, baby. Been number one, but I never had to. And I can't have fun if I can't have you.
It felt important to me to start with a chorus that you can't leave at home. You know what I mean? It felt important to me to start with, that song is called Elizabeth Taylor. It's off this new Taylor Swift album. Emily, you were up at midnight, and then you're like, okay, new Taylor Swift album, let's go. You hit play. What happened?
Well, first, Spotify crashed. And so I went to one of my other three streamers that are better than Spotify. I went to Apple Music and was working there. And then I listened through with the lyrics.
Yeah.
I love, it's like, you know, we can all have this collective moment where we know we're all listening at the same time. I read through those lyrics and then I went back and I listened to it a little bit again. And this morning, not what I expected.
Okay.
I think that coming out the gate with the album art, with the title, with Travis telling us 5 times how we're going to be dancing.
Bangers.
He said bangers. He said bangers. He said you're going to be moving, you're going to be dancing. I was expecting more flash, more glamour, more like top pop.
Yeah.
And narratively, I don't know if we're getting to it now, I'm a little bit disappointed with you know, I'm the most powerful pop star in the world, but a footballer saved my life, but we can get into that later. I don't want to take up too much space right now. Swifties don't come for me. There are good things on this album. We'll get to it.
Swifties will come for you, but that's later. Rihanna, I'm going to go to you. How is this? So it is early where you are right now. Tell me how this record is sitting with you.
Well, the beauty of being on the West Coast is that the albums come out at 9 p.m. So I got to listen to it at a reasonable hour last night.
Bless.
You know, Elamin, you know where I stand on Taylor Swift writ large. It's not positive, usually.
Mm-hmm.
This record did not change my mind.
Oh, I was waiting for like a turn at the end of that sentence, but okay.
No, I know. I had seen the leaks on Twitter, right, throughout yesterday. And you know, I was like listening to the leaks and I was like, oh man, like these kind of sound like AI. And then turns out they're actually the real songs that are on the album. So, you know, I think there's a little silver line. I think there are silver linings in the album. You know, I think Taylor's voice sounds really great. I think at times, you know, she has like Lana Del Rey ghostwriting kind of, in the sense that like the way her melodies flow and the way her voice stands out, I think is some of her best, but it did not sit well with me generally.
I will say this. I disagree with you so wholeheartedly, but that's neither here nor there. But
I'm happy.
But on the Lana reference, the first song of the album, "The Fate of Ophelia," I heard, like, I pressed play. I was like, this is if Max Martin was producing Lana. Like the delivery is very Lana, sort of reminiscent, if you will. Suzy, over to you, pal. What were you hoping from this record, and did it give you what you hoped for?
Ooh.
Wow.
I mean, my first
okay.
my first thought was just like, life is a cabaret, old chum.
Life is a cabaret, old chum. Come to the cabaret.
Is it 1931 in Berlin or
no, I don't think so.
2025 in America? I just like, I think to myself how removed she is from everything outside her, you know, and I feel like even with Tortured Poets Department, she seemed to continue to have some kind of connection to the outside world. I wasn't expecting, it's not like I was expecting a big political statement from her, but I was expecting something that maybe put her on the same planet as us.
Hmm.
Her whole thing is like being a clumsy celebrity, a celebrity, you know, with scars,
Yeah.
who can like keep it real, right? And I just feel like I was listening to it and I was like, I want to relate to her in the ways that I've related to her in past albums. She has been such an incredible lyricist for so many years at this point, and I actually felt like so alienated from her. But it's also like, I mean, she's like a billionaire now, and you can kind of hear it. You know, it's not
She's
gonna
a
be the
billionaire, you can kinda
singer-songwriter
hear it.
there. You can kind of hear it.
I think just the sentence "she's a billionaire, you can kind of hear it" is like such like a compact diss that it's actually like maybe hard to recover from. But so here's the thing: you all of you are familiar with the fact that I, generally speaking, ride for Miss Swift. I'm a fan. I've been a fan for a long time. I worried when the title of this record was released about the idea of like another album about the idea of fame, because it is a self-contained 12 tracks that are very specifically about this concept. And if you are a Taylor Swift hater, and there are some of you among us in the room, and I'm not naming names, that's like the last thing that you want to hear from her, right? It's like you've done that a lot, and maybe it's time to retire that. I think she's also entitled to go, this is a subject matter that is rich for me, and I will sort of keep returning to it. But I think what I worried about is the Eras Tour onboarded a lot of people who were like maybe not along for the Taylor Swift ride for a long time. Then suddenly the tent is too big and there's too many people in the tent. And to me, like this felt like an album of like, this is what I'm about as a person. And like, if you're not about it, please leave the tent. You do not have to be here. And it kind of felt like the noise about Taylor Swift always kind of outpaces the things that are happening in her life, which are not that many for the most part. And so I like the fact that it's like a self-contained sort of thesis record, if you will. But I also understand that that's going to be alienating for a lot of people and annoying for a lot of people. We should say, like, in terms of like all the songs, I was like, hey, what songs do you guys want to talk about? All of you selected this song.
I heard you call me boring Barbie when the coke's got you brave. High fived my ex and then you said you're glad he ghosted me. Wrote me a song saying it makes you sick to see my face. Some people might be offended, but it's actually sweet. All the time you've spent on me, it's honestly
Look, when you're Taylor Swift and you write a song called Actually Romantic about another pop star who's perhaps writing a lot of songs about you, people are bound to come for you. Emily, do you want to quickly explain what's going on here?
Yeah, so Charli, from where Taylor is sitting, Charli on Brat.
Charli XCX.
Yeah. I call her Charli.
Yeah, your good friend Charli.
Charli XCX.
You're on the first name basis.
Into Taylor's perspective, I guess, came for her. I think that's debatable. I think you could read the song that Charli wrote about her being intimidated around Taylor and not really knowing how to act. And then, of course, we saw with The Lord, they made it out, you know, her and Lord made up on the remix. And so we have that happening in the pop world in terms of feud between pop stars. So to have Taylor come in at this moment and so specifically go for Charli for her drug habits, for things that are like really under the belt. On one hand, I was disappointed because I actually think like pop-wise, this is maybe my favorite structured song on the album. And I like the concept of the chorus. I think it could have been a great opportunity for us to have a great anthem of like, you know, like stick it to your enemies in a general way. I think the specificity is where we see, to Suzy's point, of her sort of isolating herself and not really being able to read the moment. This is simultaneously my favorite song and a song that so well illustrates my frustration with Taylor for having so many great ingredients and never quite executing in the way that I want her to. This is not the moment, but it's so close to what could have been the moment. But again, she's just like lagging behind the discourse a little bit here.
You could say it's a knife, actually. That's what you might say. It's a knife when
Yeah,
Taylor Swift does something like
she
this.
brought a knife to, what is it? Small violin to a knife fight. She did the opposite of what she said.
That's
Yeah.
correct. That's exactly correct.
I just quoted her new album that came out 12 hours ago. I'm embarrassed.
Because she can do that. Suzy, the discourse is that this is not a good look for Taylor, right? Like the idea that like Charlie's song is a pretty vulnerable song about, being like, hey, I'm finally a big enough star and I'm really intimidated when I'm in the room with somebody as big as, Taylor Swift. And there's a vulnerability in it, but also there's like a bit of a discomfort in that song. And then the opening line of Actually Romantic, just sort of directly calling Charlie a cokehead is like, it's unpleasant. Is this a good look for Taylor, do you think?
I just realized that, I listened to Sympathy is a Knife, which is an excellent karaoke song, I should say.
Correct.
I think that was really vulnerable songwriting.
Yeah.
Because Charli XCX is also, there's nothing to sniff at about her career. It's really, she's a powerful pop star. Brat was just like a massive moment for her. And here comes Taylor. Taylor hates when people come in to rain on her parade, She takes it quite personally. And I think listening to Actually Romantic, it just made me think she's feeding into the drama. Taylor, whatever. That's why we all tune in, right? Taylor loves it. She lives for this stuff. And this could have been a really bratty, rock taunt song, but it doesn't go as hard as it should. I think it's all bark, but
you want to go harder?
I want it to go harder musically.
Okay.
It's all bark, not enough bite for what she's trying to give. I think the guitars need to be cranked all the way up, really stand behind business. Okay. This is to the sound. And I think she holds back sonically. And that's how I felt with a lot of her records is she's still keeping it a little too tame because she's still got to maintain this sort of girl next door persona who just happened to stumble into stardom. And so I would have loved for them to work it out on the remakes. Maybe this is all theater and maybe they will.
Yeah, I don't think Taylor called Charlie and said, "Hey, by the way, there's a song on the record."
Maybe they're exchanging voice notes right now.
Right now, as we speak.
At this moment.
That's for the deluxe version. Rihanna, I want to play a song that jumped out for you.
Good thing I like my friends canceled. I like 'em cooked in Gucci and in Scandal. Like my whiskey sour and poison thorny flowers. Welcome to my underworld where it gets quite dark. At least you know exactly who your friends are.
So that song is called "Canceled," spelled in capital letters. There's an exclamation point. That is from the new Taylor Swift album, The Life of a Showgirl. Rihanna, you listen to this song. What does that tell you about where Taylor's at right now?
All right. Well, I just want to say that when I listened to this album, that was the one song that I sent a text to my partner and I was like, "Canceled is kind of a crazy track. If you listen to nothing else, you kind of have to listen to that." Because I love Reputation. Okay. Reputation is my favorite Taylor Swift album. I'll kind of go hard for it because no matter, how it was received or the things, no matter if things land, right? She's trying things. And I appreciate that from Taylor. I like when she tries new things. I like when she steps outside of her comfort zone. And that's why I love that record. It's her, kind of dipping her toe and I'm being provocative and all that stuff, which we don't really get usually. Canceled, I think, tells me it builds on what Suzy said. I think you put it really well, Suzy, that she's in an insular bubble, I think, being famous. And I don't know, a lot of this album is reflecting on the internet and the way that she's perceived. I think of a song like Eldest Daughter. And that kind of highlights to me something that I don't like about this current state of Taylor. I think she's too aware of everything that's going on around her in a way that's perhaps detrimental to her songwriting. I think that is an issue that I've had with Taylor over the past few years, that her lyrics can become too diaristic and too stream of consciousness. And when I listened to Cancelled, it felt very much like first draft of a diary entry where she's talking about, you know, her and her friends being canceled, you know, but not really like investigating like perhaps the ethical implications of that. I don't know. It did stand out to me though, because I felt like it was the one song on the album, other than Actually Romantic, that grasped at like this new and interesting pivot for her.
I'm still confused. Like, is she canceled? Is she going to be canceled? Are her friends canceled? Is she saying
Right,
don't
like,
be
are
canceled? Is she?
people talking about
Everybody in the boat is
Everyone,
canceled.
are they all canceled? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Who the anger is like, it's like a sprinkler of anger, but I'm like, who are
Right.
you trying to hit? Who are you trying to hit?
Right. It's like, is she talking about Brittany Mahomes? Is she talking about herself and her jet? Like, who?
The answer is all of it. And also, like, I will say, this is, okay, I'm going to direct this question to you, and maybe we can kind of like try to close it out here. But like, there's both the frustration that I have and the sort of like understanding that I have is like, if your life for the last 2 years has been you're on the biggest tour of all time, right? Like that has just been what your life has been. You see the world through the prism of every week there's 3 nights in a row where you kind of go, okay, what we're doing is we're rocking out, a sold out stadium. And then everyone is talking about your tour when you're not on tour. And everyone's talking about your boyfriend when you're not on tour, when you're not playing a tour date. It's understandable to me that the world becomes smaller, or at least like your lens on the world becomes smaller. She's not writing songs about like, hey, what happens after we die? I leave that to other people. You know what I mean? Like I think like the idea of her as a prism and a lens into the world is interesting and is worth reflecting on. But then when she has songs like that, you kind of go, wow, that's the only thing you know right now. You don't really know anything else. Do you fault her for that? Do you sort of like, do you say, you got to expand that a little bit more? Or do you kind of go, you're writing from that place?
I think, well, first of all, where's the Existentialist Taylor record? Now that you plant that seed. I think that's like one main takeaway for me on this album. She is the most successful, pop star, songwriter. What records hasn't she broken? But that doesn't mean that I don't want people to come for me. That doesn't mean that she's necessarily the most interesting person. And I say that in the sense of like what she has to say about things that have been mined time and time again.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that those thoughts are going to be said in a way that maybe pleases us or that feels fresh. Much of this record is about finally my prince came and found me. My life was nothing without him, even though I'm the most successful powerhouse businesswoman. That's what I feel disappointed by. But I find that's my personal lens where I have to step back and say, like you said, you want a driveway with the basketball net. Does that relate to me? Do I relate to that anymore? Does that excite me? Do I find that really fresh and engaging material to kind of, chat about or engage with? No, I don't. But maybe that is where you are and that is who you are. And this is an inevitable album. It feels like this is maybe who you've always been and wanted to be. And I have to kind of take my personal perspective aside and be like, that's just who you are. I can't expect you to have more to say than that.
I think like that's a part of being a diaristic artist, though, is that like you begin to turn yourself into text. So like if
Exactly.
two albums ago you were like, hey, you know what? Actually, like I'm not sure if I want to have children, and then suddenly like you're in a relationship where you're like, I do.
Yeah.
That becomes interesting for you to reflect on, right?
That is where she is at.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to meet her where she is at, and I no longer do in this moment, that's on me in this. I can say things about the music and the production. We can go there. But you know what I mean? That's, I think, in terms of what she's saying, that's where I'm at.
That's you gotta pick a lane. You gotta go, am I in or am I out? And it sounds like a whole bunch of you are out, and that is that's a you problem. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud, and this is Commotion. And Emilie Hanskamp is here, Reanna Cruz is here, and Suzy Exposito is here. And I want to move on to maybe the only other pop star on the planet who could rival, how famous Taylor Swift is right now.
Que se sienta Puerto Rico,
So that's Bad Bunny performing DTMF at the final show of this summer stadium residency that he had in Puerto Rico. This week, we find out, you know what? Bad Bunny's doing the Super Bowl halftime show. It's a big deal, but also it sparked a lot of debate. A lot of Bad Bunny fans who are like, are you sure you should be doing this? But also conservative critics who are like, is this the place for Bad Bunny to be? So we're going to unpack that a little bit. Suzy, I'm going to start with you because during that residency in Puerto Rico, Bad Bunny sort of revealed that, he wasn't going to tour the United States anytime soon. Partly due to concerns that like ICE might target his concerts. And then you were the reporter that he told that to. You broke that story for ID magazine. Given that context, when you see that video where he's like, I guess I'll do one date in the United States, does it surprise you that he's going to do the Super Bowl?
It actually didn't surprise me because this is absolutely the stage at his career that he should want to do a show like this. It is like the most watched sporting event in the US. It's the biggest one in the US. And I think this is just one more milestone for him to achieve. And the implications of that, especially with regards to ICE, I mean, that's a risk that he is willing to take.
Yeah.
To put him to put Puerto Rico, especially to put himself and then to put Puerto Rico on such a massive platform. It's a risk that is real.
Well, and I was going to say, so Reanna, like you were on the show last week talking about the way that Bad Bunny sort of shows up in that residency, the outpouring of Puerto Rico pride that was sort of tied to that. And then you get this announcement, a few days after we had that conversation. How do you feel about this announcement so soon after that residency?
I feel a little conflicted, and I'm going to be honest with you all. I think, I conceptually love the Super Bowl halftime show. I'm a fan of the pageantry of it all. But I think at the same time, for me, what's bumping a little bit is that, as we talked about, right, this residency was so much about his community and his people. And even the title of the residency, like, I don't want to go from here, like, that means a lot. He stood on that stage and was like saying no to American colonialism and the idea of American interests interfering with Puerto Rico and his artistry. And, to turn around so soon after that and be like, I'll actually, I'm going to go do the halftime show, be a face for the NFL, one of the largest American propaganda machines in the US. I don't know, that kind of bumps for me a little bit and almost sours, I think, the goodwill. A little bit of it, not a lot of goodwill, but a little bit of the goodwill that I had for him coming off of that residency, because I was there, I was seeing it. I think I don't know, something is not super sitting well with my spirit. I think if he did this halftime show for any other of his albums, I would not feel as struggling. I wouldn't struggle with it as much.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, maybe I'll put this to you, Emily, but like Reanna sort of framed the NFL as an American propaganda machine. Obviously, the NFL and football is tied to the American identity to the point where I can't think of another, Super Bowl halftime show pick that has gotten a response from like the United States government, from like a U.S. sort of a government advisor. But this is Homeland Security Advisor Corey Lewandowski speaking on the Benny Show podcast earlier this week. Listen to this.
It's so shameful that they've decided to pick somebody who just seems to hate America so much to represent them at the halftime game. I was at the Super Bowl last year with President Trump. I had the chance to be in Louisiana in his box and watch the game and got to enjoy that. But listen, we should be trying to be inclusive and not exclusive. There are plenty of great bands and entertainment people out there who could be playing at that show that would be bringing people together and not separating them.
Yeah, Kid Rock, are you available?
I mean, the words that we're hearing there, like
so
shameful,
serious.
someone who
So
seems to hate
incredible.
America. Those are the words that he's using to describe that. Yeah, I guess that Kid Rock does seem to be the suggestion that he may be suggesting. But like, what do you make of that response?
Well, first of all, to point out Suzy's wonderful interview with Bad Bunny, he explicitly said, I don't hate the USA, and that's very important to say here. But this idea of unity, this is rich coming from him. We're talking about the NFL, a sport. No other sport is as steeped in patriotism and nationalism as this. And under the guise of unity, it really isn't about who you're keeping out. It's about who you're letting in. We talked about Taylor earlier today, and I'm not trying to make a thread on activism or parallel between her and Bad Bunny, but Taylor got flack because of her being there. She didn't belong. What did she do? She brought in, teen girls, women aged 18 18 to 35 and up, like women started to participate in the NFL
attention
more.
to it, yeah.
More people being brought in. Same with Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
There's no Spanish speaking songs as an insult. You're just saying you don't want people being let in. So let's not fool ourselves about unity and inclusion. You are propping up exclusion because that's what has been permitted within the sport. And now that it is not happening, it's bristling your feathers and you don't feel good about that. But let's not use the language of unity because it's the strict opposite of that.
We could obviously do this for 45 more minutes, but I have to leave it there because the show is about to end. But I appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Emilie Hanskamp is a freelance music journalist. She was right here in the Toronto studio. Reanna Cruz is a freelance writer in Los Angeles. Suzy Exposito is a freelance writer also in Los Angeles. My name is Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This show is called Commotion. We'll see you tomorrow.